Hey, Prime members, did you know that you could be listening to this episode and every episode of Funny 'Cause It's True ad-free on Amazon Music? That's right. Prime members get access to the largest catalog of ad-free top podcasts. To listen, download the Amazon Music app or visit amazon.com/FCIT. With Amazon Music, you get access to the most ad-free top podcasts. Avoid the ads and listen to your favorite podcasts ad-free with the Amazon Music app or by visiting amazon.com/FCIT. That's amazon.com/FCIT. If you struggle with anxiety or depression, let me start by saying you are not alone. Hers can help you find the support that you need. Through Hers, you can get access to real medical providers 100% online. The process is simple. No insurance, no doctor's appointments, no pharmacies, just mental health treatment. To get started, go to forhers.com/Elyse. That's forhers.com/ELYSE. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information.
Lemonada.
Okay, actually, can you just pretend that you're listening to a fully complete theme song here? I got really in my head, and I tried to make it perfect, and I couldn't. So this is going to be the theme song right here. Hello, welcome to Funny 'Cause It's True. I'm Elyse Myers. Today, I'm talking to comedian and writer Hari Kondabolu. You may have seen him in his Netflix special, Warn Your Parents, and if you loved it, you don't have to wait much longer. He has another one coming out April 18th. However, the content might be a little bit different, and that's exactly what Hari and I talk about in our conversation. Social issues have been at the center of Hari's comedy for much of his career, but like the rest of us, the past few years have changed things for Hari. He's a new dad, his mental health journey is front and center, and so there's a bit more of that in his comedy too. So two things that are funny because they're true. Number one, my fashion sense is that of a 40-year-old dad. And number two, fair warning, you might get hungry by the end of this interview. Okay, let's get into it. Hari, I know that you are actually on tour right now, right?
I'm kind of always on tour. I mean, it's weird. I feel like I've never made like an official tour. Like it's this album tour. I feel like I'm always kind of on the road.
Really? Is that kind of how it is for most like stand-up comedians?
It varies. I mean, it's certainly something I don't want to do in the same way anymore. I mean, like I spent most of my 30s and a good chunk of my 20s like just on the road, like 2/3 of the year. And it's brutal. It's just absolutely brutal on the mind and the body.
I honestly couldn't imagine. I've had a few people reach out wanting to do tours, and it's always different because I don't do stand-up. And so I'm always like, that's awesome. I don't know what I would do on a stage. Like, I don't perform for people. I perform for myself in a camera and people see it. Like, how do you feel comfortable being uncomfortable in those moments? Because I'm sure it's not always comfortable talking about politics in your stand-up.
I mean, part of it is you don't see it as politics. Right. That's to me, it's observational. Like when I think about race or gender or sexuality or any form of oppression, I don't see that as political. Those are people's like lived experiences. So like, you know, they're not thinking I'm going through a political thing right now. No, like right. I'm broke. I'm a victim of racism. I'm being deported. Those aren't political things. Those are life things. And so my feelings towards those things, like, it's not that I put on my political lens and analyze things politically. It's like, right. That's just what happens. Like, that's how I see the world at this point. Like, you know, my formative experiences have led me to this. So political is useful for branding purposes. I get that. I mean, to me, it's more social than anything else. But for the most part, I like the bigger picture things, the evergreen things that sadly we've dealt with as a world for quite some time. Like those are the things that I kind of find more interesting. So,
I mean, it sounds like including the audience, or I guess like connecting to the audience is important to you. Do you like to incorporate them in your set?
I think about the before and after on stage. When I would get heckled or interrupted on stage, really before I started therapy and taking care of myself, like I would lose it. I would
Really?
snap. And it wasn't that I wasn't able to handle hecklers. It was that when I was in a really bad place, there were so many things happening in my head, and the stand-up was happening in front of a live audience.
Yeah.
But there was a million other thoughts, and I was almost rote. It was just rote memorized, and I was barely getting through the gig. And people might not have noticed, but I noticed. But when there was an interruption, I can't do this. It's too much in my head. And now when I deal with that, I can actually stop and go off script and play around and then go back into it seamlessly and do all the things that like a comic who's been doing it this long can do. And that's because I have the space to take on more as a performer.
Yeah.
The idea of going up and being completely present for years felt impossible before I took care of myself.
How do you balance talking about those things that are obviously very, very weighty, with being funny? Like, is it hard for you to kind of strike that balance in the middle?
Yeah, it's hard in the beginning because there's a lot of, especially when you feel strongly about something,
Yeah.
there's a lot of calibrating to be confident enough in the thing that you're saying, passionate enough, but always to not forget the goal of comedy. If there's no punchline, you failed. If there's no laughter, it's not effective. There'll be shows where it's a home game where everybody's there to see me and I'm just saying what I want to say and I'm improvising and I'm having an easy time. There are some shows where it's almost like they've never heard a comic talk this way about race or say the phrase white people that much and call out race in a way they're not used to hearing it called out. And then there's crowds where people don't agree with what I'm saying or how I'm presenting it. And so, in those are a bunch of different situations. And my goal is still to make people laugh, regardless of who's in the crowd. That might mean I have to change the setup a little bit or find other ways to make them laugh. Or I think the best thing you can do is be present in the moment with the crowd, even if you're not doing well, to acknowledge it and find a funny way to move from there. Like sometimes what I'll do is I'll go through my set list and review the audience's performance during my set. This is how you reacted to this joke, and this is how you reacted to that joke. And you really need to work on laughing more at stuff like this. And
you review it to them in real time?
Yeah, because it's like, okay, maybe you and I have had different experiences in the world where the stuff I said didn't really hit the way I wanted it to hit. However, the one experience that we do share is that we were all in the room when I said these things and when you didn't laugh. Because at least that's a shared experience. And
Sure.
that kind of deconstruction ends up being funny. And it's a way to be completely in the moment. And so to me, you got to find a way to make people laugh, even if they don't necessarily agree with your politics or approach.
I wouldn't want the audience to review themselves, let alone me review them live on stage. I barely want everyone to even be aware that they're watching me talk. Is there an experience you've had with a heckler recently, or one that you're really proud of, that you walk away and you're just like, that was the best dealing with somebody yelling at me in an audience that I have ever experienced?
You know what? There is one. I was in San Francisco and I forgot what I was talking about, but knowing me, it was something about race or gender. It was something about justice in some way. And all of a sudden, this woman, I guess it was a heckle. I remember she was a middle-aged black woman, and she yelled out, "Civil rights!" And it wasn't, I didn't know what to do with it. It was a pro-civil rights heckle in support of what I was doing. And it didn't really make sense exactly, but it was almost like saying in a very...
ditto, retweet.
Exactly.
Kind of
And then I ended up using it during the show where I would point to her at different moments.
To be like,
civil rights!
say it.
Yeah, exactly. Or when a joke didn't hit and I would was kind of waiting, I'd point to her and she would say it and I'd get the laugh anyway. And we worked off, and her timing was so good. The thing I loved was whenever she said it without my prompting, it was at the exact right time.
You're you should have a mic. This is amazing.
I told her this live, I've never said this to someone who's interrupted a show or heckled before. I give you the freedom to do what you have to do. Without a doubt, the best quote-unquote heckler I've ever dealt with.
I love that story. It seems like things are going different now, but are you willing to talk about what was going on before? And if not, that's okay.
I don't really talk about this very much. It was for like mental health stuff.
Yeah.
I felt like there was a period a bunch of years back now where I was not in a good place. 7 or 8 years ago. I don't know. I think having to stop doing stand-up during that time was a mental and physical necessity.
Yeah. That you might not have taken if the pandemic...
No, I definitely wouldn't have taken it otherwise. I physically broke down. Like, when people don't know much about depression and anxiety and they'll say stuff like, you just have to eat better or go...
Yeah, get enough sleep.
Get enough sleep. Go for a walk.
Go for a walk.
And I'm like, those are generally nice things to do, but it doesn't...
I can't get up.
Yeah, yes. Yes. I would like to say... That was the worst time in my life. I'm in a much better place now. It took a lot of work, and I believe in therapy. And
we love therapy.
And that was one thing. Having the baby really put into perspective was like, I am here now to have this kid.
Did you have your son?
Yeah, August of 2020. Oh my God, yeah. It's easy to think you'd be an incredible parent, but like until you are in a place mentally where you can take care of yourself, that's like not even a possibility. So
man, I was the best parent before I became a parent. I was like, I've got this. And then you become a parent and you're just like, I know literally nothing. I'm embarrassed. And also I need to call my mom and dad and thank them.
Yes.
And like apologize. Like it's crazy.
I did a fair bit of that. I'm sure you have people who don't have kids listening to this. Open the goddamn door for me when I have my kid with me. Like, I know you're on your phone. I felt like it was karma. Like, I must have done this. I'm like, I dropped something in front of the door. I had to pick up the thing while watching the kid and opening the door. Someone's on her phone. She's like, she looks up at me. She looks to see what's happening, goes back on her phone. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like,
you're just like, no, it's fine. I've got it.
I don't know.
I would like to add to the list, just stop knocking and using doorbells. At this point, when somebody has kids, like just stand at my doorstep and text me you're there. And if I don't see it, just leave and go home. Like, please don't ring the doorbell because my son's probably sleeping. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, Hari tells us how his comedy changed after having his son. Every plate is just next level creative with some of these recipes. I mean, caramelized onion burgers with Dijon aioli and potato wedges, sweet and spicy ponzu pork meatballs with roasted broccoli and buttery rice. These meals are so indulgent and delicious that you'd never believe that Every Plate is 25% cheaper than grocery shopping. Every Plate can help you get more bang for your buck with 25 tasty and affordable recipes to choose from each week. Plus, you also have your choice of 22 sides, snacks, desserts, and more. Better yet, Every Plate offsets 100% of their carbon footprint to your door, and their meals have a 31% lower carbon footprint on average than supermarket meals of the same portion. What surprised me the most about Every Plate is how quickly the meals come together. Not only am I saving a ton of time by not waiting in line at the grocery store, but I'm usually done preparing dinner and ready to eat in under 30 minutes. Plus, I always have leftovers, which are the best part of cooking, let's be honest. Get started with Every Plate for just $1.49 per meal by going to everyplate.com/podcast and entering code Elyse149. That's everyplate.com/podcast and code Elyse149. When you're working on reducing your anxiety or depression, it can be so overwhelming just trying to figure out where to begin. My advice? Don't tackle it alone. There are people who can help you take a step back and assess your options, then find the best one for you. Hers offers access to mental health care that can support you in your day-to-day, including dealing with anxiety and depression. At forhers.com, you can get access to real medical providers who can prescribe trusted mental health medication if it's right for you. The process is 100% online, including free unlimited check-ins, provider messaging, and support along the way. Plus, to make things even simpler, you can get your first month of treatment for just $25 if prescribed. To get started, go to forhers.com/Elyse. That's forhers.com/ELYSE. Hers has helped empower so many people to find the best treatment for themselves, putting it back in your hands. Get started today at forhers.com/Elyse. That's forhers.com/ELYSE. Offer only available if prescribed. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. Additional restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Did you make a conscious decision to kind of slow down when you had a kid? Or what was that like?
The weirdest thing, I always have a sense of guilt about it, but like 2020 was one of the best years of my life. And it's strange because there's so much death and sadness and loss. And I had my first child that year, and I got to spend an incredible amount of time with my partner and the baby that I wouldn't have had, in this country, especially with paternity leave not being a real thing that's respected and maternity leave barely being seen as a thing, that the idea that we got all this time to bond as a couple and then bond as a family and to bond as like parent and child, it was so healthy. The new special that I'm putting out, it's called Vacation Baby. And it's really about having a kid during the pandemic and what that is like. And I will say that it was part of this larger goal I've had to write material that was more personal. Because the thing I've seen as I've gotten older is that it makes the other stuff go down a lot better. The stuff that's a bit more aggressive. So I feel like the parent thing, it's been cool because I've connected with tons of people that we might not have a lot of other things in common, but we have kids, and I connect to them in ways that I couldn't connect to other people who don't have kids. And that gives them the ability to, stay in it longer.
Yeah. I've found that in my content and what I do, I try my hardest to be like, look, you're going to get a lot of me in this, whether you kind of want it or not. But I am sorry. Hope you like it. Hope this finds you well. And I think that helps things feel softer when they're landed in somebody's ears. I don't know. It's relational. And I think that comedy without the relational aspect, you have to work harder. And that's not bad. It's just, you almost feel like you have a lot more to prove. Like a stranger sitting cold, not knowing nothing about you, you really have to earn somebody's laugh.
Yes.
And if they're softened with like, oh my God, this person's a parent, you telling me you're a parent and literally nothing else about you, I could literally detail what your day probably looks like in my head. I just know. If you're following a schedule or if not, regardless, I just understand. So it's cool that you started to incorporate more of that personal story in your comedy. And I was going to ask, how has your comedy changed since you had a son? So is that kind of what's changed? It's just become more personal?
It's definitely gotten more personal. And at the same time, he's really small right now. He's only 2 and some change. But so I'm also aware at a certain point, his privacy is, paramount. I think right now I can get away with it because there's some universal type experiences,
right.
It's funny. I feel like I'm more comfortable talking about a lot of other things because I'm willing to talk about my kid. All of a sudden, it puts me at ease in a weird way. I've let you into something that's really the thing that means the most to me. So what else could possibly be off the table right now? Even me talking to you about mental health so early in this conversation, that wouldn't have happened before we got pregnant.
I totally get it.
I say we with such confidence, we, as if
you grew the baby in your whole body.
As if I grew I really was pretty worthless after, I just,
you
in
played
the
a part,
room,
just a
I
small,
played a very
enjoyable
small
part.
and then a small, enjoyable part. Yes. At least from this end.
So with the shift that you made of sharing and going and doing those things of sharing personal information, did you find that really was you becoming a father that caused that? Or do you think that that's the natural progression of a comedian just at a certain point? Both.
It was a goal for a long time. And those new material shows, I think the first time I really started going deep into my personal life is, it was in that space maybe 6 years ago where I started talking about, depression and things that really on stage still I've talked about minimally.
Yeah.
I'm still working on a lot of that stuff, and how I can deliver that in a way that's thoughtful and funny, because it's a lot. But that was where I did that for the first time, and it really never left that room. So that was like the first opening, and certainly having the kid though, it's such a vulnerable thing for, obviously I think in a lot of ways, obviously more for my partner, but it's an immediate like weak spot. It's a source of strength being a parent, but it's also like my heart will crumble if anything happens to my child. Every bump and bruise, every fall, like the vulnerability of that experience.
Everything else feels not as like big of a deal.
Not really, yeah.
Like, I'll tell you my social security number. I don't fucking care. Like, my son just fell. I don't know.
Everything. I mean, making sure the kid's okay. Like, I'm certainly less nose up in the air about what I decide to do. Like, I definitely think in my 20s being a latte socialist, which is a socialist with less money, but still playing into the system. Like, I'm like, I would never do this or that, and I'm Lenny Bruce, and I want to make art that is which is still somewhat true. Like, of course, I want to make challenging art. I want to be more relatable, and I want to bridge things. But I'm a host of a food competition show on Netflix,
I was gonna ask you about that.
Never in a million years. I'm like, Lenny Bruce would know. And I'm like, Lenny Bruce died way too young. Who knows what he would have done if he survived? Like, this is not, you can't, and having a kid now, I mean, honestly, like, my days of playing anarchist bookstores, they might be numbered. I have to pay for a child to eat and to be clothed and educated and things that are beyond me and my ego. Like, I feel like, and also I'm allowed to have fun. And it was fun to talk about snack food and be silly with Meg Stalter,
That's what I wanted to know. Like, because it feels like such a huge pivot to what you were doing before. Immediately when I saw that, I was like, he wants to have more fun. Like, that was like my immediate thought. And I wanted to know what that was for you, what that shift was.
Didn't hesitate to say yes.
Yeah.
One, because we had a kid, so there was no question. Like, we need
Pay
this.
your bills. Yeah.
And secondly, it's like, I love chocolate and candy.
Yeah.
Like, there's 3 things I could wax on about. There's more than 3, but the 3 that come to mind are definitely anything that involves history, justice, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sports, particularly baseball. Oh. And yes, it always surprises people.
Okay, just to be clear, my surprise here is not like, oh my gosh, you're into sports? You don't seem like a sports person. It was the fact that the sport he's into is baseball, which is arguably one of the most boring sports. Do I love it? Yeah, absolutely, because I like hot dogs. But that's not the sport I imagined he was going to say. I just pictured him like courtside Lakers kind of guy. So that's that.
The third would be chocolate and candy and all sorts of confections. And I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, this is something I'm ideally suited for. And certainly the edit that they put in was me at my, like, all the political stuff that I tried to slip in didn't make it, obviously. Yeah. And they let me get it out of my system live, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
But it's a really fun show, and I had a great time, and Meg Stalter is a genius, and being able to work with somebody who is that funny off the top of her head was just a joy.
Okay, we have to take one more break, but when we come back, Hari and I talk about food, nonstop, for like 10 minutes. I'm just kidding, but only a little bit. Do you take a million photos and like only let them sit in your phone for ages? Well, what if you could put all of your photos, from random camera roll pictures to high-res wedding albums, onto one gorgeous frame? You can now with a digital frame from Aura. Named the best digital photo frame by Wirecutter, The Strategist, and featured in hundreds of gift guides, Aura frames are guaranteed to make mom or grandma smile. An Aura frame brings all your photos and videos together in one stunning high-resolution display where mom can really enjoy them, aka like not a group text or on social media. Aura lets you preload any frame with meaningful memories and a special message that will appear as soon as it's set up. Could not be easier. Plus, you can invite the whole family to add to the frame, letting people contribute their memories from wherever they are. Oh, and did I mention there's free unlimited storage? Right now, Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. Listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com. That's AURA frames.com. Use code Elyse to get up to $30 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver frames. This deal ends on May 14th, so don't wait. Terms and conditions apply. How many exclamation points do you guys like to use in your emails? Because personally, I average about 3 per sentence. I just don't want anyone to think I'm mad at them. Oh, and I do thank people I'm writing maybe 5 or 6 times throughout the email. I don't know why. It's a really bad habit. And that's why I love and maybe need Grammarly. They can help you keep that tone focused and get all of your work done confidently. Grammarly's bonus writing tips are awesome too. Grammarly is great with spelling and grammar and everything, but it's even better at acting as a coach for you as you learn how to make your writing more concise and direct as a whole. The free version of Grammarly offers instant proofreading with comprehensive spelling, grammar, and punctuation suggestions. They also offer a tone detector, but I personally recommend the premium version, which offers clarity-focused sentence rewrites. The right tone can move any project forward when you get it just right with Grammarly. Go to grammarly.com/tone to download and learn more about Grammarly's premium advanced tone suggestions. That's grammarly.com/tone. Do you get to eat any of the food?
I ate all the food.
Side note, we are talking about all the set food from the show Snack vs. Chef. What's been your favorite thing?
Oh my God. You mean of the stuff that,
Yeah.
Because the goal is to recreate snacks that are famous and also to create an original snack. I loved, there was a few things. There was the pickle chips that were made by Sandy on, I think it was episode 1 was, oh my God, that was delightful. There was a cake made by it was like hand pies made by one of the contestants that was incredible. There was a cheese thing with like a bacon essence to it. I think it was called like a gas station snack that somehow it was delicious.
I need it. I don't even know what bacon essence is, but I need it like my life depends on it.
I mean, honestly, I had lost a ton of weight because I was like, I have a kid. I'm getting close to 40. I'm 40 now, but I'm going to actually take care of my body. And I lost 20 pounds. And then I got the offer to host the snack show. And
You're like,
the binge never stopped, Elyse.
no, I believe you. I believe you. I would like eat constantly on a show like that, and I would love every second of it.
You go 6 months without like eating junk food, and then all of a sudden they put chocolate and candy on every shelf.
I remember being on a set and there was like craft services and I remembered going up to the coffee. It was like a cart thing with like a coffee and like literally any snack you could imagine. They had it. And I walked up and I was like, I'll just take a coffee. And I like tried to, looking for money and he's like, oh, no, you're good. And I was like, oh, okay. While I'm at it, do you have any candy back there?
Yeah.
He's just like, what kind of candy do you want? And I remembered on this set, I must have had like 17 Kit Kats to the point where by the time I actually got to film, I was so sick. So fun fact, after this interview was over, we were listening back to it and my producer asked me, does the sight of a Kit Kat just make you so sick? I would imagine that you could just like never eat a Kit Kat again after that moment. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, because they made you sick. And I was like, what do you mean? I would eat a Kit Kat right now if you had one. Do you have one? I'm actually pretty hungry. I could eat a couple, honestly. So no, my relationship with Kit Kats are stronger than ever, honestly. They've never steered me wrong. I just wanted to go get all the sandwiches, all the donuts, like shove them in my dress, like whatever, like take them home with me, like steal the rest of craft service. I just was like so amazed.
Oh, at least that's what I did at the end of it. Like all that stuff that was like all the chocolate, the candy, that was the set. So we could take whatever we wanted. No. Oh man, I went to town. Not only did I grab as much candy as possible, I also grabbed garbage bags and
just stuffed them.
Yeah, I started because I was like, this isn't candy, but they still had them for props. I'm like, I got 3 years of deodorant in this bag now. I got garbage bags, recycle bags.
That's what they always say is take everything from set. They're like, whatever's in your dressing room, whatever, like your green room, they're like, we got this for you. We can't use it again. Take it.
Yes.
I would like fly, because I'm in Nebraska, so I would have to fly like to LA or New York or wherever to do these things. So I now leave room in my suitcase to bring stuff back that's normal shit, like bags of Goldfish. I am not ashamed. So I'm just like,
Right.
it's free. Like I don't need to go grocery shopping. I've got all my craft services like in my luggage, and I'm just the cheapest. And like, oh my gosh, yeah, I just like shove it in my suitcase. Like apples, I'm like, I don't need to bring these apples home, but I'm going to because it's free.
Oh, I never lost that. I never lost the broke comedian tendencies. Like, I'm just like everything. It's all, most of my wardrobe is stuff from sets or thrift stores. I mean, honestly, there was a period of time where I was getting free Supras, which are these like super nice sneakers, for like a year. And then they found out I was a stand-up comic and not an actor, and they stopped sending me shoes.
Like, you get clothed.
Yeah, but I think they realized there's something about stand-up comedians that I think for a lot of people is it's like we're like the lowest rung. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, what are we doing?
I'm learning this for the first time. So, okay, I am not liked generally by brands. Got it.
It's just, like there are people who like Hassan is incredible with that stuff. Like Hassan Minhaj, yeah. Because part of it is he's always been a fashion guy and he's always been really stylish. He may disagree with that, but as long as I've known him, I've always been impressed by what he chooses to wear and how he wears them. Yeah, he's also incredibly handsome.
So handsome.
So handsome, and he hates when I say it.
He's like a very large celebrity crush of mine. My husband knows it. It's just fine. Well, okay, Hari, thank you seriously so much for being on. I am so glad I got to meet you.
Oh, Elyse. It has been honestly a pleasure, and I cannot wait for my next trip to Nebraska. Hopefully Omaha this time.
Yay! Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for listening to my episode with Hari Kondabolu. Make sure to check out Snack vs. Chef on Netflix and keep an eye out for his new special coming out April 18th. Also, if you like this show, give us a review. It helps more people find us. Okay, thanks. See you next week. Bye. There's more Funny 'Cause It's True with Lemonada Premium. You'll get access to all of Lemonada's premium content, including My 5 Questions with Hari Kondabolu, coming out this Friday. Funny 'Cause It's True is a Lemonada Media and Powder Keg production. The show is produced by Claire Jones, Zoe Dennis, and Linnea Tony. Our associate producer is Tiffany Bowie. Rachel Neal is our senior director of new content, and our VP of weekly production is Steve Nelson. Executive producers are Stephanie Whittles-Wax, Jessica Cordova-Kramer, Paul Feig, Laura Fisher, Kessla Childers, and me, Elyse Myers. This show is mixed by Johnny Vince Evans, additional help from Noah Smith and Ivan Krayev. Our theme song music was written by me and scored by Xander Singh. Follow Funny 'Cause It's True wherever you get your podcasts, or listen ad-free on Amazon Music with your Prime membership. Boo-doo-doo-doo-boom-doo.
Hi, my name is Kelsey McKinney, and I'm the host of Normal Gossip, a show that is now back for its 4th season with Radiotopia. Normal Gossip is a show about the petty, the ridiculous, and the strange stories that surround us in the world, and the way that we share those stories with each other. In the top half of the show, Normal Gossip investigates how gossip functions in the world and how we use it for good, for evil, and for neutral. The stories are sent in by listeners, anonymized, and retold to a guest who is asked to weigh in on the actions, beliefs, and decisions made by the people in the stories. We have a great time on this show, and if you love mess, please come join us.
If you love Lemonada content, a quick, easy, and free way to help us keep our shows running is to fill out our anonymous listener survey. By just answering a few questions, you can help us find new brands to connect with and also share feedback about show content you'd like to see across the network. And even better, once you've completed the survey, you can enter for a chance to win a $100 Visa gift card. The survey is short and sweet and will help us play ads you don't want to skip and also keep bringing you content you love. Just go to lemonadamedia.com/survey. Survey. 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 Survey.